We're just coming out of the festive season. Some people still have the spirit hanging around them. And one of those industries or sectors that thrive during the festive period is tourism. So let's look a little bit about not necessarily just the festive season, but the sector generally in Nigeria, the tourism landscape. In 2025, we did see some interesting numbers. We see contribution to GDP increasing, and it hit 11.2 trillion naira. Total revenue about $3.77 billion of tourism. Domestic expenditure is very interesting. We saw it increase compared to previous years. Domestic expenditure through tourism went up 6.1 trillion naira. We had international visitors receipt hitting 803 billion naira. Arrival growth grew in the first half of last year, 2025, by about 12%. But this is not the best we can do. But we did see a lot of dirty December activities and carnivals and all of that. When I have the Dr. Lucky George, who is the Executive Director, African Travel Commission. He's very active in the tourism industry to tell us how much money they made in 2025. Dr. George, good morning and welcome to the program. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year and good morning.
Great. So, I mean, we see these interesting numbers coming from 2025, and it's really nice to see that domestic expenditure increased in the year. I don't know if it's because the international flights were getting too expensive or if it was intentional, but however, we did see that interesting number coming from there. But you are in the sector, day-to-day operations. Did you feel the impact of increased domestic expenditure?
Absolutely. Like you rightly pointed out, the international travels are becoming so expensive for Nigeria, and most Nigerians felt, well, if I cannot go abroad this time around, why not holiday locally? And that's why you have seen that increment. Though it's been building up gradually, because over the years we noticed that most of the attractions are very difficult to get to. And of course, not that they are much better now, but because there are no options. Usually we used to go to the Middle East and of course to the West generally, and the cost of visa, the cost of air ticket, in order not to just stay at home, people want to holiday locally, and that is really helping and building up the numbers and the figures we talked about.
What areas would you say are most interesting to Nigerians?
At the moment, not much of adventure, I would say. Maybe you have to visit maybe an attraction out of the cities. So I think basically what we have and what we have noticed over the year is that a lot of city trips are more kind of attracting to a lot of young Nigerians. People want to go to Abuja, they want to go for a comedy show, they want to visit or maybe go to a music concert and all that. These are some of the things that are building up.
I guess that's where the term, they said last year, the term bleisure, be leisure.
Absolutely.
That was created
yes.
because a lot of people just want to combine business and leisure
Absolutely.
and maximize the opportunity.
Absolutely. So people go to, maybe if you live in Abuja, you want to come into Lagos and there's a concert going on in Lagos or a comedy show in Lagos and the other way around. Now you have it going around some of the major cities. You have Abuja, you have Lagos, Port Harcourt and Enugu. So even Benin is gradually building up, and of course the usual Cross River, Akwa Ibom axis.
Yeah, and this year we had the Edo Carnival.
Absolutely.
I don't know if we had the Delta Carnival, but no, carnivals all seems to be the trend also, we saw in December.
Absolutely, the carnival, because when you are expecting a lot of visitors from the major cities to the rural areas, what other options do you have? There are no leisure facilities, so the only thing you can do to keep the environment lively is to come up with one project or the other, like the carnival, the festivals, and the rest of them. So they are best local marketing strategy to keep the environment lively when people come visiting.
What about hospitality? How's that sector faring?
To my surprise, I can tell you for free that most of the major hotels in Lagos, in all the city, most cases they are running at 70–80% occupancy. Again, a lot of business activities, conferences, seminars, and even board meetings are everywhere across the country. And I can tell you the hospitality industry, which is the hotel, conference facilities, they are cashing out big time. And I can tell you some of the major hotels that are my partners, I go to them and they tell you, sorry, we're fully booked for the next 2 months. And it was so for some of them since September up to this very moment now that the holiday is over, so people are back to work and all that. So the travel and tourism industry, most especially the hospitality industry, they are the biggest player in Nigeria. And of course, they are cashing out.
Yeah, there was something that was going on social media that period too, that they were giving to the highest bidder. So even if you booked, ahead, if someone with higher price comes, I don't know if you heard of that.
I heard of it, but basically it's not the major hotels. It's those apartments, the Airbnbs, and the rest of them. That sharp practices are mainly within the rank and file. Because somebody will book a 3-4 bedroom and apartment, and when he knows very well that the demand will come much later, then he up the price and the rates become so ridiculous.
Yeah,
and
that's something for the regulator.
Absolutely, and it's not sustainable. You don't promote a destination that way, because definitely I will go to where the rates are stable. When I budget $1,000 for a whole holiday, I will know that will be able to sustain.
Yeah, some people even, months ahead,
Absolutely.
They have paid. So you can't disappoint a family who already have plans and have made payments,
Like you already said, you mentioned about the authority who monitor all this. In Lagos, for instance, we know we have the Lagos State Tourism Ministry that is very active, but there's an element to tourism promotion that is lacking in Lagos State. So the whole activities of tourism in Lagos State, even in some of the states, maybe apart from Cross River State, that is very disjointed in the sense that nobody controls because they don't have a tourism board. It is the responsibility of the tourism board to do the effective monitoring, registration, classification, and ensure that some of these practitioners do not go against some of the basic rules and regulations of how the business is done elsewhere.
So there's no tourism board in Lagos?
No, Lagos does not have a tourism board. Even way back during the last governor, Mr. Hampered, when he was there, before he left office, he signed into law a bill that was passed by the Lagos State House of Assembly that the state should establish a tourism board. Because you cannot be formulating policy, doing oversight functions, and at the same time doing the marketing and promotion of the state. They are two different tasks entirely. And the way the Lagos State Tourism institution is set up at the moment, you don't have the manpower to do that aspect of the job. They have been very fantastic. The money is there to do anything you want to do. Why not put in place a tourism board? As directed, has been rightly passed by the State House of Assembly and signed into law for almost 4 years plus now. That has not been done.
So, what about travelers' experience in hospitality, in tourism, in the country and all?
In Nigeria, traveling in Nigeria, you will have one of the worst experiences you can ever think of. Yesterday, I was flying in from Abuja into Lagos. There were people that were supposed to have left Abuja since 2 p.m. in the afternoon. We did not leave until about 7 p.m. in the evening. It's always like that. And the reason is that the facilities, the airlines, the transportation, the road infrastructures, they are not just adequate enough. It's like we're not prepared. It's like a staff who is employed and you rely on your neighbor's donkey to get to work every day. You can be rest assured that you get late for work sometimes. And that is how we operate.
Are you advocating for a domestic airline? I thought we now have, for instance, we have the states, Ibom Air, we have the one for Kala, Cross River State.
Absolutely.
So, and I thought the notion was that the federal government or the federal carrier is speaking through the subnationals.
Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way in tourism. You need the mega carrier to service a country of over 200 million people. At the moment, you'll be surprised that we have just only 30 airworthy aircraft in Nigeria. We're not talking of private jets. We're talking of the major airlines. So the point we're making here is that the airlines lack the capacity. With all due respect, these guys are working under they're operating in a very difficult environment. But where is the capacity? The capacity is not there. You book your flight for morning flight or late morning flight, you will not get to your destination until about sometimes 12 midnight, because the same aircraft will have to do 60 degrees across the country. And at the end of the day, all the passengers that have been booked for earlier flights are subjected to what I would call inhuman treatment when it comes to what we do in the travel industry, that we're trying to give experience to people. We want you to get to your destination as early as possible, and you fly home very late.
So the airlines, I mean, we had extensive conversations late December about this, and the airlines came and said the issue is infrastructure and much beyond them. And then even their cost of operation is also something that's a problem.
That is not true. I can tell you for free that, yes, they are operating in a very difficult environment. But the problem is airline operators lack the capacity. A country of 200 million plus, 30 aircraft that is airworthy in this country, it's a joke. How do we rely on them? So the problem is that we operate in one of the most expensive airfare structure in Africa. If you buy a ticket from Lagos to Abuja, for instance, if you look at the breakdown of the ticket, you will see what the airline will tell you, the XY or the YQ or whatever they call it, fuel surcharge. If you buy a ticket for 300,000 naira, you probably see that 200,000 out of the money goes to the airline directly. Then the base fare, which they call the actual fare, will be about 60,000 naira, and about 40,000 naira will be for tax. So they are cashing out on daily basis.
But they have charges for all those agencies and all.
I'm sure China's TV pay charges to government institutions as well. You pay your taxes. So there is no business without charge or cost of operations. We all do it. We run businesses. We, the media organization, you know very well I'm from the media organization, so we pay taxes. We pay our staff. We do all our commitment to government, to local government. Does that mean our TV stations should tell government we will not pay our local government tax, we will not pay the state tax and all that? We do all that in our businesses, but what the airline want is that they want everything practically free. That is what they want. But it will not happen anyway, because the problem is that they are saying they can run it. We know they are in a very difficult environment, but they lack the capacity, and that is a fact.
And these issues and more, especially looking at it from the African point of view, is what the African Travel Commission seeks to address.
Absolutely. Now, for the first time, we're bringing in the big players. We're bringing in the AFDB, Afreximbank, and ECOWAS. ECOWAS is our partner in our summit holding next month in Lagos. The idea is we realize that funding is a major problem in the travel and tourism industry. So we are bringing in these key players to sit down with the operators across Africa and say, look, what are the problems? If Ethiopia Airlines, sorry to say, I know it's not an advert, but if Ethiopia Airlines is running and it's 100% owned by government and it's one of the 7 most profitable airlines in the world, why can't a country of 200 million people, we are richer than Ethiopia? But the problem, the argument over time is that, look, Nigeria, we don't have sincere people to run the national carrier. For that reason, we should not run. Then we rely on Ethiopia Airlines, Kenya Airways, thereby making tickets so expensive. So we want to bring in all these key players in, even the government officials. Then we will educate them why we need a national carrier, why certain things need to be done. And of course, we have to talk to the investors and say, look, these are areas that you need to. I'm very sure there's nobody that will invest in any major carrier in Nigeria that will run at a loss, because the market is there for you.
But the overhead cost is overhead cost and entry cost is scary from what I've heard.
No, it's not true. It's not true, for God's sake. You know, the problem with this part of the world is we try to create fear in everything we do to say it will not work. It will work. Ethiopia Airlines has worked. If you go to Ghana, Ghana has one of the best public transport systems. If you are in Accra, you can go to any part of Ghana in a public transport STC that is run by the government. And how did they get it started? They got the money from the pension fund and invested it in a very reliable, strong transport system. Do we have that in Nigeria here? The answer is no. All the individual transport companies, they can just wake up one morning and increase their fare by December, because knowing fully it's a cash out period. So it's not possible, and of course, we want especially, there's one other institution we want to really bring to the table, which is the Bureau of Statistics. Because I saw the figures, I'm so impressed now that the figures are going up every day. I don't know where you got your figures from, but again, what is attributed to the travel and tourism industry as far as the Bureau of Statistics is concerned is food and beverages, and of course, hotel accommodation. Transportation is not part of what they calculate as part of travel and tourism contribution to the GDP. These are some of the issues we have. So they need to know and key into the United Nations Statistical Committee recommendation of how travel and tourism GDP to the economy is calculated.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Lucky George, Executive Director, African Travel Commission, for your time. And we hope by the end of 2026 there will be an improvement. I mean, the challenge of Ethiopian Airline is right there in front of us. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. And I'm inviting channels to be part of what we'll be doing in the next 6 weeks. And of course, well, you are most invited.